we are here with Mark Cerny, the lead designer of Knack 2 and of course a veteran of the gaming industry, but today we're here for Knack 2. Thanks very much for giving us the chance. And am I correct, you will play the game with me through a couple of levels and explain things, and I ask you things, and nobody will notice that I'm inept with the gamepad.
We'll do our best to hide that.
Okay. So, with Knack 1, it was a quite traditional platforming game in the old school sense. You just mentioned in your presentation 3 buttons, only a couple of moves, and now things have changed. What's the biggest difference?
Things have changed. Well, I mean, it is still co-op, and it's drop-in, drop-out co-op. So, I mean, you started a single-player game, but all I need to do is, hit a button on my controller to join you. So, one of the things that we really focused on was variety in the game. So this is a platforming level. We're going to go up all those water wheels that you can see. Really 3 main types of gameplay, which are combat, the same as Knack 1, but now it's just part of the game, and platforming. And the final piece is puzzles.
Okay. Well, what did you do just a second ago? Did you warp towards me?
Ah, so that's part R2. Of co-op. Just hit R2 and you end up wherever the other player is, which is very handy in the platforming sections. And let's go do some platforming. So anything red contains parts. There's a height gauge in the upper left part of the screen that you can see. You just hit R2 and join me if you want to.
If I manage to get there. Okay.
Yes.
So this was triggered by you, am I right?
Yes,
because I didn't do anything. And you mentioned that even with little cut quick time event scenes, you have to work together.
Yes, the second player is never a spectator, no matter what it is that's going on.
Not like the
even
cat
QTs or
with ball, where you were only being a sidekick.
Yes. So let me pop forward. I'll use a cheat here, and we can get to a little bit more heavy-duty platforming. So one of the things we're doing on easy, the player takes a different path.
Okay, like me, just a second ago.
And the benefit of that is that we have noticed in our playtests, if you're just picking up DualShock for the first time, it's very hard to make the sort of 60 or so precision jumps you need to do through the platforming area. But on normal and hard and very hard, you do the platforming and the heavy-duty platforming, and the timing changes. So on very hard and hard, the platform timing is a bit more complex.
So this is easy or normal?
This is on normal. On easy, we would have bypassed all this. So let's head in
this seems
after you, sir.
Yes. Oh no. Yeah, and you just teleported. So as long as one player is able to get wait for me, I can simply and I will be even revived.
That's right.
Okay. What about save points?
Lots of checkpoints. Knack 1 was very old school in that. Well, it had more than the original Crash Bandicoot, but still not that many checkpoints. In this case, pretty much every stable area has become a checkpoint.
Oh, okay. Why do I not simply let you do all the work and press R2 from time to time?
We also have size change involved in the
I see that.
You can see that you need to get smaller in order to get through areas, and then larger to make long jumps again. Knack does continue to grow in these levels, just like he did in Knack 1. But anytime you want to get back to being small Knack, you just tap R1. We'll make it work.
And this is normal. This is rather easy. So on a more difficult level, platforms would be moving faster.
We're moving faster. Timing's trickier. Even in this section of platforming, it gets progressively trickier as we go forward. So let's go to a combat level.
Of course. By the way, the game is developed in Tokyo. Are you based there, or are you constantly?
I'm in Tokyo every 3 or 4 weeks to work with the team.
Okay.
So it's,
Lucky you.
It's Sony Interactive Entertainment's Japan studio, which is 200 and something game creators in Tokyo, and there's, I don't know, a number of teams, some larger, some smaller, but Last Guardian was done by the Japan studio, and Gravity Rush, of course, Knack, Playroom, also done by them. So to set up this, Knack is looking for allies in his quest, and he goes to this monk village, and they just love to fight. So this is a bout. This is not a serious battle here. I will join in.
Okay.
So shield is useful. You should not get to be small, because when you get small, you're a one-hit kill.
Yeah,
it's not too useful in combat. Yes.
Buttons. Okay.
So we have the various moves I was telling you about. There's also, since we're playing co-op, there's co-op moves. For example, if I use the multi-punch on you, I can turn you into a machine gun of sorts.
Does this
and
hurt
take out
me,
the
or is it
no,
just...
it doesn't hurt you.
Okay.
Or if I do the body slam on you, I can...
get it. So you are rewarded for friendly fire in a co-op game.
Yes, exactly. And we noticed in the playtest there was a lot of friendly fire, particularly between brothers.
Yes, a bit to brothers. Oh, that's interesting.
One of the guys on the team figured out how to turn that into
gaming magazines.
Less so. So the other thing I can do now is
you jumped on top of me. Yeah.
And those attacks do massive damage.
And that was a sort of force attack, something. Force field.
Another thing is, if enemies, as I said, if enemies are throwing something as it comes in, if I put up the shield with the right timing, I can knock it back.
Okay, I'll try that. Very good.
If you can get the timing right, it's definitely the most satisfying thing that Knack can do in the game. So the fight will now spill out into the rest of the monk village.
Wow.
Up here you'll see a little something that was inspired by Crash Bandicoot, actually, is these crystals come out of the ground. If you break them, you become invulnerable. You get a special moveset, these crystal swords.
But just for a couple
of seconds. Sort of, for just 10 seconds, it's sort of a break from the regular action, but it's also mildly strategic, because definitely it's easier to defeat all of those enemies when you're superpowered than when you have your regular moveset. Yes, you'll need to get small to climb in a lot of places, because the ledges are too narrow for big Knack.
So this is standard size and cute small size. There are other sizes, I guess?
There are. We'll see those in a minute.
Okay, yeah.
You can join me by hitting R2 or by getting small and jumping up.
Still learning. Okay.
So now we'll go through the Monk's Training Center, where I guess they are using large boulders to learn how to dodge effectively.
And I think the system has changed from Knack 1. I don't have set of hit points anymore.
That's right.
But I am auto-healing after a couple
That's right.
seconds.
What happens is, as we take damage, we shrink. If we shrink too far, we die. But if we can avoid getting hit for a couple or 6 seconds, then...
But if I die, I just go back to the last save point anyway, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a very friendly game.
It's friendly. I mean, there can be waves of enemies, and so you really don't want to die too much. In co-op, it's much more friendly, because unless both players die, forward progress is assured.
So it's a very family-friendly game.
Yes. In co-op, definitely.
Yeah.
Family-friendly game.
And it's drop-in. You can
drop in, drop out.
Just, okay.
Yeah, I think for your audience, you have a lot of people with young children, and it's great, if you have a 5-year-old child who hasn't
Many
really played PlayStation before.
Maybe
it's a great place to start. It's almost impossible for the 5-year-old child to screw up.
But what about, in the game? Because some of our users, of course, have older children. What if they are better than the father? Can they use separate difficulty levels?
No, it's one difficulty for both people playing.
So the son or the daughter simply has to help her old man getting through everything.
So defeat these guys, and then we'll get to learn a new ability.
Okay. I feel very safe because you're with me, so I just let you do the hard work.
So the head monk has invented something that looks kind of like Knack. That's our next opponent.
Oh.
And he can guard.
Okay.
And as long as he's guarding, he's basically invulnerable. We actually don't have a way to get through that at this point in our moveset.
Perhaps if I'm small, no. So we simply hit him, or?
Well, we actually can't defeat him.
Okay.
But the littlest monk, youngest monk, takes pity on Knack, and at this point teaches him a new move, which you can skip the narrative options and skip. And then you're trained on the new move in a QTE, and I was saying everything is co-op, so even the QTE is co-op. We both have to do the moves to get through. So the heavy punch, very good at breaking a guard. You can also go through shields. It works as a conventional attack square.
I didn't.
Yes, and now you'll see a feature. So you can imagine if you're playing with a 5-year-old child, the child this might be a bit too much. So once you've screwed up once,
it gets easier.
It gets easier for that part. Yes.
So you're saying because of me, we are in little child mode now.
Well, this next one is either of us can hit it. We don't both have to hit it to get forward progress. The last one is hold circle. Yes, and we're through the QT. And now we have the new move, which is a heavy punch, and it takes a bit longer to pull off, so you need to use it strategically. But you can break shields. If you see an enemy with armor, it's ideal. And once the armor is gone, then pretty much any attack will work. And if you use the heavy punch on the other player, you knock them across the environment. If they hit an enemy, they do massive damage, just like that.
So I'm useful after all.
Let's try. Would you like to do a stage where Knack gets large?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that.
What do you say? Is platforming still more important than finding stuff, solving little puzzles?
We're trying to keep a lot of variety and take the game to a lot of different places gameplay-wise. So combat, platforming, puzzles, and everything. And special modes.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think were the skill upgrades in the first game? I don't think so.
No, the moveset didn't change. So having a deep moveset is definitely new to Knack 2. So this is a goblin city that our heroes have stumbled on. It appears to be behind the bad things that are happening in the story. It's a bit later in the game, so Knack has a new move. Actually, if you can see, the skill tree is getting progressively unlocked here. So the biggest new thing he can do is he can reach out his arm and grab somebody, and that's useful
against the gnomes.
Some of these enemies are very prepared for Knack to come in and attack them, and you can totally screw up their attack timing by grabbing them and pulling them in, particularly these guys with a sword. If I let him pick the timing of the engagement, it's pretty messy. He'll get that sword up, and then it's hard for me. But if I can just reach in and grab him, then I choose the timing. That's right. Like that. So, very... strategic use. There's also a few other moves that Knack has learned at this point. There's a jump kick, great for taking out guys on balconies, and you can actually go from the jump kick right into a flying kick. That's the game director's favorite combo. I think he's probably the best game player on the project. Anyway, so you're seeing Knack. He's come into this goblin city. He's about human size. And you can see, sorry, we're in feet and inches. He's about 2 meters tall at this point. So the game continues, and Knack keeps on picking up more parts. And I'm just going to skip forward to a bit bigger. He's about 3.5 meters tall now. 4 meters tall now.
Which is still not the biggest size he gets
to be 10 meters tall eventually. And definitely the gameplay changes the field.
I feel very strong now.
And Knack 1, we tended to scale Knack's size and the enemy size together. It never felt particularly large. Here we're taking care to keep the enemies the same size wherever we can and just add more of them so that you understand how large you are. You should get the red crate. It's got parts in it, pretty much everything red does. And armored enemy is coming up to the right, and you'll want to hold circle and do a heavy punch to get rid of his armor. Yeah. Right, and then you can tap triangle and reel him in. Well, you just did him before then.
Did it my way. So having those small opponents running around really gives me a good feeling. Oh,
poor guy. Yeah, Knack is not going to get too much information out of that guy. So let me show you, as Knack gets a little bit larger still. Oh, another upgrade is my dodge maneuver now does damage, so maybe it's not the most strategic thing, but I can just go right through the enemies to defeat them at this point. And what do we have? We have another one of those Crash Bandicoot moments here where I break a super crystal and now I have the super moves.
Okay. And I guess because you're bigger, you're now even stronger, in super mode.
And the trick is to get as far as you can before the music stops. So the idea here was you enter the city and you're human-sized, and eventually you get ambushed. In fact, right here.
Okay.
And you get kicked out of the city. And at this point, Knack is about 5 meters tall. He is not having a good day. And that was the boss, by the way, that did that. The boss is about 10 meters tall. You fight him at the very end of this level, which is like 45 minutes of combat. And so we're not going to be able to show the whole thing today. But he raises the drawbridges. And then now the trick is, how does Knack get back in at this point? We don't have a lot of QTs, but this is a fun one. I wanted you to see it. Then shrink down to get through the hole. And it's so sad. The little goblins think they have a chance now, which they don't.
Okay. Little sadistic feeling about the whole thing. No, okay, nowadays.
X.
Yeah.
The level designer was trying to have sort of gimmicks in platforming with timing that wasn't immediately apparent how you could get through. Part of the challenge, trying to have something fresh as opposed to platforms that move left, right, and up, down. And even though this doesn't look very hard, the typical death count on this first section is about 5 times.
Okay.
So with that in mind,
okay,
that's 1.
No, that doesn't count. That was first try. That was.
Okay. You should jump down.
Okay.
Yeah. You should jump down.
Okay. And now wait a second. Wait a second. Ah, too late. Okay, that was 2. That was lucky, but too late. I need to stay more to the top.
It doesn't look very hard, does it? It's just some paddles moving.
Yes, but I'm also not the most skilled person on this planet.
So I would recommend just drop down.
Okay.
And then jump from the first to the third and ignore the other ones.
Like okay, and this was a little time.
You're through.
Yes.
And then this is a checkpoint.
Yeah, very good.
We're very generous with the checkpoints. One other fun thing is, even though this all looks like 2-dimensional traditional platforming, it's actually 3-dimensional. And so when you start thinking about it, you can do all sorts of fun things.
Like corner.
Yeah, it's just you just cut all the corners. Another target of the designers was to have everything be physically motivated, so there's not a single floating platform.
Okay.
I mean, you might be inside a giant machine of unknown purpose, but it's all still going to be very physical.
So everything's attached, and if something moves, it's propelled by something, and so on.
Exactly. And as saying, you know, you can pretty much ignore some of these if you start thinking about it. It is indeed embedded in a three-dimensional world, even though it is 2D platform.
Mark, all your games have been about characters. So, do you have information how well players relate to a very unusual character who consists of 1,000 parts and constantly is rebuilt? Is this the same as having a funny animal for players, or have they difficulties in relating to Knack?
It's definitely not the traditional mascot character. With Knack 2, we've added in a lot of small Knack, so there will be moments that feel, I guess, a little more familiar from that context. The big thing that surprised people is that Knack speak, and of course, none of those games we were talking about earlier, Crash, Spyro, Jack, speak, though Ratchet does. So with the tank, 2 players.
Yes.
Second player is never a bystander. So the way it works with single player is you drive and you fire the weapons. With 2 players,
you are firing the weapon. No.
That's right. And the enemies are the other way. You can drive, and you can also do a dash and just steamroll over enemies.
Okay. Oh, I left the... What? Okay.
And that's hitting triangle. To just
triangle
is just, and you go straight over the enemies with that.
But it has a cooldown or something. Oh.
Yes, it has a slight cooldown. So it's just a departure from ordinary gameplay of the game. This has actually had the best response out of all the different play modes in Knack.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe so because it's
when he starts guarding like that, the cannon won't work anymore once he gets his shield up, and the only way to get through him is the dash.
Yeah, I'll try to do that.
And he has, you have a shield of your own on L1.
L1?
You put that up, and you can block their attacks that way.
Okay.
For what it's worth, it's also possible to fight as, if you hit R1, it's possible to fight as regular Knacks. Not really recommended, but we have replay value. Once you've finished the levels, there's 143 challenges in the game.
Okay.
And you get medals for those challenges.
And one would be, don't use the tank.
One of them is getting through the tank level without ever using the tank to defeat an enemy. Which it can be done. It's actually not that hard in co-op.
Okay.
If you can gang up on the enemy.
But co-op is easier, isn't it? Or I think you will adjust the hit points of the opponents, but still to have someone in there with the warping.
We do. I mean, if you want to play as an adult player with a friend, if you want to play on co-op, I'd recommend playing on hard, even for the first playthrough, because of that. And that's Knack.
Okay. A lot of changes, and I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy you were with me through the harder parts. Thank you so much indeed. Let's look into the camera, say bye-bye to the GamersGlobal users, and Mark Cerny, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much.